Beautiful. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 I read the Sanskrit. Text 32 of the 9th chapter and the 4th canto. Matya vidushita devai.
Matya vidushita devai.
Matya vidushita devai.
Matya vidushita devai.
Patatbhya asahishnubi. Patatbhya asahishnubi. Yo narada vachastatyam. Yo narada vachastatyam. Nagrahisham asatamaha. Nagrahisham asatamaha. Matya vidushita devai. Patatbhya asahishnubi. Yo narada vachastatyam. Nagrahisham asatamaha.
Matya vidushita devai.
Matya vidushita devai.
Tatbhya sahasnubi.
Patatbhya asahishnubi.
Narada vachastatyam.
Narada vachastatyam.
Nagrahisham asatama.
Nagrahisham asatamaha.
Matya vidushita devai.
Matya vidushita devai.
Patabhira sahasnubihi.
Patatbhya asahishnubi.
Yo narada vachastatyam.
Yo narada vachastatyam.
Nagrahisham asattamaha.
Nagrahisham asatamaha. Matya vidushita devai. Patatbhya asahishnubi. Yo narada vachastatyam. Nagrahisham asatamaha. Matya vidushita devai. Patatbhya asahishnubi. Yo narada vachastatyam. Nagrahisham asatamaha. Mati. Intelligence. Vidushita. Contaminated. Devai. By the demigods. Patatbhi. Who will fall down. Asahishnubi. Intolerant. Ya. I who. Narada. Of the great sage Narada. Vacha. Of the instructions. Tatyam. The truth. Na. Not. Agrahisham. Could accept. Asat tamaha. The most wretched. Translation. Since all the demigods who are situated in the higher planetary system will have to come down again, they are all envious of my being elevated to Vaikuntha Loka by devotional service. These intolerant demigods have dissipated my intelligence and only for this reason could I not accept the genuine benediction of the instructions of sage Narada. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As shown by many instances in the Vedic literature, when a person undergoes severe austerities, the demigods become very much perturbed, because they are always afraid of losing their posts as the predominating deities of the heavenly planets. It is known to them that their position in the higher planetary system is impermanent, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, Kshine punye matyalokam vishanti. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita, that after exhausting the results of their pious activities, all the demigods who are inhabitants of the higher planetary system have to come back again to this earth. It is a fact that the demigods control the different activities of the limbs of our bodies. Factually, we are not free even in moving our eyelids. Everything is controlled by them. Dhruva Maharaj's conclusion is that these demigods, being envious of his superior position in devotional service, conspired against him to pollute his intelligence, and thus, although he was the disciple of a great Vaishnava, Narada Muni, he could not accept Narada's valid instructions. Now, Dhruva Maharaj regretted very much that he had neglected these instructions. Narada Muni had asked him, "Why should you bother about insult or adoration from your stepmother?" He, of course, said to Dhruva Maharaj that since Dhruva was only a child, what did he have to do with such insult or adoration? But Dhruva Maharaj was determined to achieve the benediction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore Narada advised him to go back home for the time being, and in mature time he could try to practice devotional service. Dhruva Maharaj regretted that he had rejected the advice of Narada Muni and was adamant in asking him for something perishable, namely revenge against his stepmother for her insult and possession of the kingdom of his father. Dhruva Maharaj regretted very much that he could not take seriously the instruction of his spiritual master and that his consciousness was therefore contaminated. Still, the Lord is so merciful that due to Dhruva's execution of devotional service, he offered Dhruva the ultimate Vaishnava goal. Amagyana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Shakshua Unmiditanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadatara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you very much for having us as a guest. Actually, it's a little bit the wrong way around, because we as a guest visit a holy place, so we are supposed to hear. Actually, we are supposed to hear from the sages of the local place. Anyway, I think it's nonetheless auspicious to hear together about Dhruva Maharaj's return home, and we hear Dhruva Maharaj speaking after he realized that he approached the Lord with material desires. Actually, Narada Muni gave him the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and this was the mantra Dhruva Maharaj was chanting. And with this mantra, he connected to the Lord, and this was his japa very, very intensely. And but he approached Sri Krishna with material desires, and now he came to he realized that he was an illusion by having desire for revenge towards his stepmother, by desiring a kingdom greater than the one of his fathers. And yeah, I'm very, very happy that we can hear about Dhruva Maharaj, and because he gives us such a great example. I mean, we are asked in all these Bhagavatam classes we hear by great Vaishnavas, and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, by the Bhagavatam, and by the Bhagavata, Srila Prabhupada, we are asked to perform pure devotional service, unmotivated. Yeah? And we hear, this morning we heard about the 10 offenses. We are asked to avoid the 10 offenses in order to reach our goal, Krishna Prem. Not to maintain material desires. And Dhruva Maharaj gives us such a wonderful example. Often, since now being in Australia, you see the pole star also from Australia, isn't it?
The pole star.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
yeah. You see it from Australia. You see it from here.
Some people say it's the bright star just below the moon.
Yeah.
That is sure.
All right. Because it looks a little different from here than from the northern hemisphere. But recently I think I saw the pole star. Doesn't matter so much because I was meditating about Dhruva Maharaj being there and watching us and giving us an example and giving us guidance in our spiritual life by his own example. And I think it's so nice to be able to meditate on such an elevated person, a pure soul, being watched by this pure soul here on earth in my very meek practice of devotional service. And he gives us the example that coming in contact with a pure Vaishnava leads to pure devotional service and to Krishna Prem. I'm very touched by that actually. He was in contact with Narada Muni. He was instructed by Narada Muni when he lost it, at the time when he was totally disturbed because his father rejected him by the influence of his mother-in-law. Thank you. That's the term. He was very disturbed, and at that point he was picked up actually by Narada Muni and instructed, and he was given the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, so that he could overcome this illusion of revenge and material desires. And I'm currently reading from the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is about the story of Nrsimhadev and Prahlad Maharaj. And it's the same for Prahlad Maharaj. Narada came by and he picked up his mother when Hiranyakashipu was gone to perform great austerities. And Narada Muni protected actually the wife of Hiranyakashipu and protected the unborn child in the womb and instructed the mother and the child while being in his shelter. And in this way, Prahlad Maharaj Maharaj became completely purified and took birth in a family of demons as a pure, as a pure Krishna conscious soul actually, and instructed his classmates. And so for me this is the example how important it is to be in contact with Vaishnavas, in pure devotional service, because this kicks us out of all material contamination. There's no effort we could do to achieve the same, nothing we could perform to achieve the same than the contact with a pure Vaishnava. And I find it very nice that we hear about Narada Muni being this tool of God, and reaching out to Dhruva Maharaj as he did to Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah. Narada Muni gives us, in our lineage actually, the perfect example of a perfect Vaishnava to be compassionate and to share Krishna consciousness. And this really speaks to me, actually. Who am I? I'm a conditioned soul, and most of us are in this world. We are conditioned souls. But we are asked to follow the path of our lineage, of our Guru Parampara, and of our spiritual masters. We are asked to follow the path of Narada Muni, actually, to inspire devotees, to pick up to inspire people, conditioned souls, who are maybe not even aware yet of their relationship to Krishna, to pick up devotional service and to start chanting Hare Krishna. This is the mission, and we see here in the Bhagavatam that Narada Muni gives us the example, and we see the example of Dhruva Maharaj, who, although being contaminated with material desires and material identification, achieves this goal by the association of pure Vaishnava. So that's me. That's me. I'm a conditioned soul. I have material desires. I don't get out of here on my own. There's no chance. I come from the lower modes of nature. I come from the modes of ignorance and passion, for sure. I studied the modes of ignorance more than the mode of goodness in my life. This is for sure. And I don't get out of this material contamination on my own. But this material contamination or material identification causes suffering every day. It causes suffering every day. This world is challenging, and whatever we do, this world will stay challenging. So being in material consciousness, I face suffering every day because I'm asked to pay bills, I'm facing difficulties, I'm whatever, struggling in my body, struggling with health issues, mental issues, social issues, whatever. And being in material consciousness, then it's, oh, poor me, what do I do about it? How do I find a solution? How do I get out of it? What can I do? Again the next struggle. In spiritual consciousness, it's the same. These are the same challenges. It doesn't change that we are in this body and in this material world. But in Krishna consciousness, in spiritual consciousness, we can see that it's all temporary. and I don't control it anyway. So if the next challenge is coming up, I roll up my sleeves, and I start praying. And I do my best. I do what I can. But I know Krishna does what I can't. As he describes in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna does what I can't. So the action of Narada Muni gives us a perfect example. This is our shelter, actually, the pure devotee, the instruction of the pure devotee, the process of the chanting. This is our shelter. And not our own endeavor brings us there, not our own qualification brings us closer to Krishna, but our sincerity to follow the instruction of the spiritual master. To pick it up, take it as sincere as possible, and being dependent on the mercy of the devotees. And we see in the example of Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj, we can't compare ourselves with both of them. They are far beyond our position, and we don't compete with them or anything. But we see in their example how it works, how the contact with the pure soul works. And actually, as I said, coming from the lower modes of nature myself, receiving the gift of Krishna consciousness by the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada, I am asked to take it as serious as possible, to be able to follow the path of the Vaishnavas, of our spiritual masters, of Srila Prabhupada, to share Krishna consciousness, share the holy name as much as possible. This is my duty, actually. This is our duty. This is our duty. We received a gift, the gift of devotional service, the gift of the holy name, and it's up to us to see how we are saved in this way from the greatest suffering, material consciousness, and unlimited cycles of birth, old age, disease and death, unlimited cycles. Yeah. No one of us is searching for temporary happiness or temporary love or temporary shelter. Just give me a little shelter. No one is searching for a little shelter. This is the mentality of a drug addict, actually. Having temporary shelter, take a drug, takes a few hours, 5 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever, and then you fall again. This is the mentality. And reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, reflecting on the great sages like Narada Muni, like Dhruva Maharaj, I feel asked to overcome this mentality of give me a little shelter, give me a peace, give me a little this, little that, but to acknowledge that I have to rise above my lower nature and take this process given by Srila Prabhupada as sincere as possible in order to inspire others in Krishna consciousness, to share with others. Yesterday we saw so many guests, many of them need our attention, our inspiration, our well-wishing, our compassion, as do the people who who didn't come. So many people who don't have the shelter of the holy name and of Srila Prabhupada yet. But in order to be a tool in this mission, I feel asked to take this process more serious and take the instructions of the spiritual masters more serious in order to overcome what the example of Dhruva Maharaj shows us: material desires, revenge, lower mentalities born of material identification, actually. Yes. So, and Dhruva Maharaj even says that the demigods envy him of his position. And he said, how, being instructed by Narada Muni, being given this sublime mantra, how did I fall into material consciousness? And he was mentioning the demigods, that they put him into illusion because they were envying him. Because they themselves have no access to this sublime process without the mercy of the spiritual master. They themselves have no access to get out of this material prison. They are trapped here themselves. So, realizing his position, Dhruva Maharaj saw, the demigods, they are so envious, and they bewildered me. And now, let me accept the instruction of my spiritual master, Narada Muni, and I don't ask for material benedictions anymore. I'm very grateful that we could read together about Dhruva Maharaj and about from the Srimad Bhagavatam, because I need this purification. I think I'll leave it there. Does any one of you have any comment or correction or whatever? Hare Krishna.
Thank you for a very nice class. That's all. Yeah. I'm thinking about the demigods and their status or their situation. And we do hear Srila Prabhupada saying that at least some of the demigods are described as pure devotees, and that is Lord Shiva and Parvati and trying to think who else. Anyway, there are references. Prabhupada says that they are pure devotees. So I'm wondering, what the situation is with the different types of demigods. In terms of their consciousness, in terms of their being situated within the material atmosphere, like we were discussing.
Yeah, thank you. The demigods, we worship the demigods as devotees of Krishna, and we accept them as servants of Krishna, and we accept them as more advanced than we are, and they are actually, because they are in a higher position. If I would be a demigod, I think I would be a great Hiranyakashipu or something, but without the austerities. So yeah, they are more advanced than we are. At the same time, we hear again and again in Srimad Bhagavatam that the demigods become bewildered. They become bewildered because of their position and because of their enjoyment, of their interaction of the senses and the mind with the material objects. Although the objects they enjoy are more subtle than on this plane where we are at. Nonetheless, they engage in sense gratification also, and this is contaminating. And I think, recently I heard no one is giving a Srimad Bhagavatam class and says, I think, but I do it anyway.
What did you
No,
say?
I heard recently that no one is giving a Srimad Bhagavatam class and says, I think. This is not appropriate, actually. But from my platform. The demigods. They are in contact with the sense objects, and we see it also in our Krishna conscious society, I think. All the fall downs of devotees, great devotees who did huge service and they fell down. And what I understand after discussing this with more advanced Vaishnavas is that they fall prey to the material energy. They fall prey to the material energy, and so do the demigods, as I understand. And we hear this in our lineage, that the demigods are standing in line for Kali Yuga to serve in the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because this is way more safe than the elevated platform. And I don't think that Dhruva Maharaj was referring to pure Vaishnavas as Shiva, for example, is. Yeah, that's my understanding on it. Could you add something?
Well, you mentioned Yamaraj is mentioned there as one of the Mahajans. He's a demigod. Kartikeya comes in the next chapter and gives instructions about devotional service to Dhruva Maharaj. So there are some examples of, pure devotee demigods, aren't there? In the Shastras, but I think there's like a generalization in statements, perhaps. Just thought of that one example of Kartikeya comes, gives instruction in the next chapter, so wouldn't pertain to everyone, perhaps.
There's also Lord Indra.
Yeah.
Who gets into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are different levels of demigods. For sure.
And we also hear that if no one is qualified to take the position of Indra, Krishna does himself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does he? I think he does also take the position of Indra. So there's no question. Who knows about the demigods in the other universes? And their positions and levels of consciousness. But I think it's nice to reflect on it, on their position, because they are so elevated, and they are also, they have a completely another level of purity and of being situated in the mode of goodness, and even they fall prey to the material energy. So what to speak of us? I mean, I fall prey to the material energy every day. So it's a very risky position, actually, for us in this material world. It's a risky position. And we're depending on the mercy.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Well, you spoke a lot about association with devotees in today's class, the importance of connecting with the advanced Vaishnava who will give Krishna Prema, give devotional service. I've just been meditating on that recently, the association of devotees. Bhakta Sangivas, Narottam Das Thakur talks about that importance of association of the Vaishnavas. How is it that the Vaishnavas give Krishna consciousness? How do they give us Krishna consciousness? What's the mechanism that's working?
Thank you. That's a nice meditation, I think. And I asked my Guru Maharaj gives what here, actually. And he was referring to the stages of devotional service, that a devotee, we hear that in the beginning there's a Kanishta Adhikari, and that he goes through the processes of Shraddha, Sadhusanga, and so on, etc. And Prabhupada is encouraging us to get at least to the form of Madhya. And that is the platform of Nishta, of really firm faith in the process. And so my spiritual master told me that a person on the platform of Nishta can give Shraddha. So in order to be able to help a person to develop faith in this process, we have to come at least to the platform of the Madhyamadikari, of Nishta. So that's what I understood. And to get there, a person and an Uttama Adhikari can give Nishta by his association. Yeah. That's what I understood. And again, that's where I feel asked, okay, take it serious. Take it serious to come to a certain platform. And also one interesting thing, so I was reflecting with my guru about how is it, is it as a ladder? Because once we have some Shraddha, some faith in the process, and we have some sadhusanga, and we practice some bhajana kriya, and undergo an anatta nivritti, a purification, but still being on a platform of anatta nivritti, let's say, still there's a need for sadhusanga, of course. And he explained to me that these things have to be developed in a balanced way. So maybe there's a little Shraddha and a little sadhusanga and a little bhajana kriya and a little anatta nivritti. If that grows, then also there comes the little nishta actually, and also there's a little ruchi. Yeah? But by developing all these aspects of devotional service, slowly the ruchi is the nishta and the ruchi is growing. Even there's a little prem there at the end, a little, and but we have to develop a firm platform of nishta, and I'm preaching to myself here. A firm platform of nishta, we have to develop Shraddha, we have to develop sadhusanga, we have to develop bhajana kriya, and as more stable as we become there, the more the nishta is growing, and our practice of devotional service grows in that way. And from there, from my perspective, it's also something very, very mystical. Yeah, very mystical. That I understand intellectually, okay, I cannot give what I don't have. Sure, I mean, if someone is thirsty and I don't have water, I can give the person water. So, and it's the same with devotional service. The more I become situated in devotional service, the more I can share this with others. And I have to develop a certain connection and practice in order to be able to really to function as a tool to a certain way. become a tool of Krishna. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much.
I've also heard that I can't remember the context. The person quoted exactly. I think it was we're hearing some seminars about it. That even in the higher stages of bhava, a night in the vritti is still going on. So as you say, there's a mix of different things happening.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a step later. Is that what you do, right?
Bhagavatam Maharaj.
Yeah, very much example. Like there's a bhava, but some anatas were. Well, I have to say I appreciated your emphasis on what I was pointing out about the mechanism being the mercy, and the upliftment from above as well as our endeavour from below, but ultimately Krishna filling in the gap.
Yes, we are on the back to Godhead mission, isn't it? So Prabhupada was preaching back to Godhead. We're going back to Godhead, and that's what I understand. We take this serious, but I can't. I can't do that. I can't go back to Godhead, and no one can on his own strength. But we do our best, and at the end, the ultimate purification comes on the transition, isn't it? Yeah. That we are. That's what I understand. We do our best. We develop firm faith and do our best what we can. And Prabhupada promises it very clear. If we follow this process sincerely, then we go back to Godhead. So I can't reach this point. As far as I understand, I can't reach this point of being qualified within this life. But the mercy is there, and ultimately we are all going back together there. By the mercy. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.